Good morning. I am Steve Weber, and I'm the host of the American Gumption Morning Show. And hey, welcome back to the week. I did not do a live broadcast yesterday on Monday, so today is my first day broadcasting this week, the second week of December. So today is Tuesday, December 8th, and excited for today's show and excited for this whole week. It's going to be a great week. I've got things lined up all 4 days. So Brandon Schaefer will be coming up, Simple Motivation, in just a few minutes. But let me go ahead and just launch right into it because we've got a lot to talk about this morning. So our guest, Shaman Isabella, Isabella Leigh Stoloff is our guest, and she'll be coming up at about 15 after the hour, just in about 12 minutes or 14 minutes from now. And gosh, she's got a great story, and I'm very excited to get into it. I had a chance to talk with her a few days ago, and so just there's so much to talk about. But once we get into it, it's going to just fly by that conversation. So fascinating story about who Shaman Isabella is and what a shaman is. So we'll get all into that. Now, tomorrow, we are going to dedicate the show to the We Empower You Summit. Bettina Carey has been a guest on the show twice, and I interviewed her before the last summit. She does quarterly summits, so 4 times a year, and basically she just throws out a whole lot of different information. She has speakers, and it's all on business topics for you to build your business, grow your business. It's kind of for the solopreneur, the spiritual entrepreneur, the person who's wanting to make a difference in this life. And so we'll have free tickets available. I'll have the link for all of that, and you can join in. It's a 12-hour all-day affair, so come in and be part of it. Listen to some of the speakers. There's a big, long list of it. I will actually be one of the speakers coming on at about 5:30 or 6 o'clock, somewhere around there tomorrow evening. And I'll be interviewing Brian Gregory from Admanity. And Brian has been on the show twice. So that's going to be a fun time. It's going to be just a quick 30-minute interview, but basically we'll review the basics of what Admanity and his protocol and his test for helping you deliver your message to your ideal client. So that's going to be tomorrow. Dedicate the show to just talking about some of the other speakers and what that's all about. No guest on the show. Now, Thursday, Aaron Linsdau, and he is an Arctic explorer or an adversity expert. Aaron Linsdau, soloed from the edge of the Antarctica continent, basically down at the tip of South America, fly across that little strait there, get on the Antarctica. And he basically went by himself from that point all the way to the South Pole. So he'll be here. He'll talk about that story, and he'll talk about the other adventures he's had throughout his career since then. And then on Friday, I welcome back Natalie Coleman, and we'll continue our conversation from lightness to dark. Hers is a story of recovery. And so she had transitioned her life from a real dark place to a real bright place. And we'll continue that conversation on Friday. So tomorrow, the We Empower You Summit, Aaron Linsdau on Thursday, and Natalie Coleman on Friday. So a fun week packed up. Alrighty, that's that. Now, what's today? Oh, it's Tuesday. That must mean it's...
Go mute.
Brandon Schaefer is in the house, everybody. Welcome, Brandon. Can you hear us, Brandon? Hello, Brandon. Checking in with you. Let's see. You're not up. Now he's checking his microphone. I think you're
on mute, Steve.
Am I on mute? No. Gosh, am I on mute?
Hey,
So
what's going on, Steve?
Good morning, Brandon.
I can hear you loud and clear, Steve. I can hear you.
All righty. Well, welcome. Your connection feels a little bit funny, so
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're breaking up just a little bit. Not sure what that story with that is. Maybe you need to log out and log back in again. Yeah, you're frozen up. So we have a
Good
bad
morning.
connection.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing? You're not coming in loud and clear, though. We're not hearing you, unfortunately. You're going to have to log out and log back in. Now, the funny part about Brandon is he is the technology guy, the expert. His business, Simple Business Help, helps people connect. His business is basically all about taking technology and helping people connect with it. Now, not necessarily with Zoom calls, that's for sure. We're talking about people who have technology, sales, CRMs, that sort of thing, and getting them to talk with your accounting system and not having 10 different systems that don't talk to each other, but getting 4 or 5 different systems that do all talk to each other. That's what Simple Business Help is all about. That's what Brandon can do for you. Now, will he be back? That's the question. We don't know if he's coming back or not. But hey, this is live morning broadcasting, and that's what happens. All righty. Well, we're going to find out. He's either going to come back or he's not. That's going to be the story. So I do have a monologue prepared. I don't even think I told you what it's all about. So my monologue is going to be allowing versus forcing. Have you ever tried to force something to happen? Have you ever said, hey, I'm just going to force it. I'm going to brute force it to happen. That's what sometimes we try to do. All righty. Now, Brandon seems like he's back in the house. Let's bring him back and see how it works this time.
Hey.
Hello, Brandon. How you doing, man?
Hello. Can you?
I hear you, but you're not hearing me. Your connection isn't working.
Hear me?
Yeah, we could try it. Let's go. You ready to go?
Are you able to hear me?
I hear you. Go.
I can hear you, Steve. Ready to go. I'm ready to go. Hey,
go.
We are fighting through everything today, man. In fact, you know what? We're not even fighting because we're more adapting and evolving and transitioning and making adjustments as needed, when needed, however needed, wherever needed on the fly here. So glad to be here on Steve's show. What I'm thinking about today is switching it up, switching up your environment, switching up your daily activities, switching up the way you drive to the local grocery store. If you take a right and a right and a right every time you go, why don't you take a left? Go see something different. Open up your eyes. You know, there's a whole world out there. And, you know, during all this stuff that's going on now, we can tend to get stuck in this Groundhog Day type theme. And what's going to pull us out of that is igniting our creativity again. You know, ignite your creativity by trying different things, by talking to different people, by taking different paths, like I just mentioned before, that you normally take. Switch up your settings. If you wake up early, wake up earlier. If you wake up late, wake up earlier. If you wake up early sometimes, then wake up late. If you go to bed late, then go to bed early. You understand what I'm saying? So take a total look at the transition and switch everything up in your life right now and try different things, especially if you're in that particular area. You know, what we did a month ago isn't going to last today. What we did a week ago isn't going to be the same today. We're constantly listening to every guest that Steve has on his show. Every single one of them has a common theme, and that is willingness, forgiveness, all the core basics of success. That's why it's so important you show up. And I love how you do this show 5 days a week, Steve, because it allows people to tune in and to learn something. And for me, progress is 7. That's all I have for you today, Steve. I hope you get something from this. And just glad to be here, man. I'm really, really glad to be here.
All righty. Well, thank you, Brandon, very much. We appreciate your joining us every Tuesday morning. And I really resonated with what you said, because I remember earlier time in my life, I was getting on an airplane all the time. And every time I got on the airplane, something new would happen because I was getting stimulated in a way that I wasn't. So the idea of taking that left-hand turn instead of the right-hand turn, I mean, that's what it's all about. Just trying something new. All righty. Well, we got a little bit of a delay. We're gonna say goodbye to Brandon. Thank you for joining us. The technology with Brandon's connection didn't quite work, but we appreciate it. We got your message loud and clear. Thank you, my friend. We appreciate it. We'll see you next week. All righty. Well, there you go with Brandon. Now that's funny. The simple business help guy, whose team helps people connect all of their technology, wasn't able to connect with the, with the Zoom call or the Streamline call this morning. But that's okay. That happens. That's just part of the technology thing. And anyway, if you do have a challenge with your technology, getting different systems to talk, check out Brandon, simplebusinesshelp.com. All righty. Very good. So that's that. Now let's go ahead and launch right into the monologue so that I can get Isabella to come and join us just as quickly as possible. So I said that the title for my monologue this morning is allowing versus forcing. And the whole idea of allowing is something I've learned from Abraham Hicks and from the law of attraction. And the 5 principles of the law of attraction are: number 1, you have to decide. You decide what you want. There's things you like and there's things you don't like. And once you figure out that contrast and decide, then step number 2 is to just let the universe do its work. You don't have to do anything. Just let the universe come in and transpire to make whatever it is your wish happen. And so then number 3 is the allowing part. When we get little hints, when we get little messages from the universe, pay attention to them, allow them to come in. And then this is a funny one. Step number 4 is to just get better at allowing. And so, Abraham Hicks, Esther, when she does her talks and her little video clips, she kind of laughs about it. She goes, I don't know why it's number 4. It's like, it's the same as number 3. It's like, except that we need to get better and better and better at allowing. And that's really the message of this morning. And then step number 5, I said there were 5, is to go back to number 1 and basically get better at defining what you like and what you don't like and being okay with the fact that there's contrast. So when things aren't working right, you don't get upset and throw a fit. You just, you kind of just go with the flow and say, okay, well, I like this and I don't like that, and move on with it, and just kind of keep and repeating that process. So the art of allowing, it's the law of attraction, and it's the art of allowing, because allowing things to come in is really something. So now I was inspired to share this morning because of our guest coming up, Shaman Isabella. So last Friday I did my monologue, and afterwards she reached out to me, and she reached out in a strong way and said, hey, I've got a story for you. And I remember I responded first, and she said, no, we got to talk. And I was like, okay, let's talk. And we did. And it was great. And so here she is today. She's going to share with her story. And like I said, she heard last Friday's show with Joan of Angels, and Joan of Angels is a friend of hers. And that's how this connection all happens. And so we are, so here I am broadcasting. Joan of Angels, a brand new host on Spirituality Gone Wild. I invited her. I allowed her to come in, and then Shaman Isabella shows up. And I'm allowing that to just to kind of continue, and the story just continues and keeps evolving. And I love this. So she's going to join us in about 5 minutes. I'm going to go fast as I can here. But allowing versus forcing, workmanlike is forcing, and allowing is artist-like. And that was kind of what my message the other day was, talking about the more of an artistic mindset. And so I had to transition from being like a workman to being an artist. And workmen, they kind of pound the metal, and they do the work, and artists end up doing, something a little bit different. So I was taught, to work hard as a kid. And this is something I thought about this morning. As a kid, I taught to work hard, keep trying, don't give up. The struggle is good. People say it's okay if you're struggling. That's okay. Just keep on going. And so then you learn that, like, life is a struggle. and you have to sacrifice. You have to scrimp and save for a rainy day. These are all things that, I remember being told over and over again, and there'll be a better tomorrow. Trouble awaits us around the corner, kind of that fear thing. So we have to pay our dues, and, and in a religion sense, we have to pay for our sins because we were born with original sin. I mean, is that true? But it's what I was taught. We were born with original sin, and so we're born sinners. We're bad, and we have to repent. Atone for our sins, struggle, sacrifice. There'll be a better tomorrow. There'll be a better tomorrow. So you kind of learn that the struggle is good. There's nothing wrong with the struggle. The struggle is like part of what we have to, and if we struggle, then we'll be rewarded with the kingdom of heaven. So this is kind of things that I was taught. Now I'm like thinking, oh my gosh, I don't know that that's true. I'm not sure I believe any of that stuff. But the thinking has been created or instilled in me. And, the notion of forcing, try harder, don't give up. There's glory at the end of the struggle. Keep on trying. Just keep on trying. It also created the habit of worry. So I became, you learn how to worry, it becomes a habit. And, what if this happens? Oh, if this happens, then I'll do this. Well, what if that happens? Oh, if that happens, then I'll do something else. And so an endless stream of what ifs starts playing in your mind. If this happens, I'm going to do this. If this happens, I'm going to do this. And when that happens, I'm going to do this. And so you're trying to control everything, and you're trying to predict, a lot of outcomes. And so, I created the habit of thinking, overthinking. I created the habit of overthinking and worrying and trying to control. And so the irony of this habit is not living in the moment. It's not living in the moment. It's like it's trying to predict everything and control everything and force outcomes. So rather than living in an endless stream of what ifs, analyzing, judging, labeling, sorting things in the neat little piles. Okay, this belongs over here. This belongs over here. Okay, this pile's getting big. I better deal with it, that sort of thing. And it's just control and manage and, all habits of forcing. So now we're switching coins or sides of coin. We're switching the side of the coin, instead of forcing, we're now allowing, and I was reminded of Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine. Who's old enough to remember Alfred E. Newman from Mad Magazine? My brother bought the magazine, and I was like an 8 or 9-year-old kid, and I'm reading it. And Alfred E. Newman's idea was like, what, me worry? And he was just like kind of a goofy guy. In some ways, he was a little bit like Forrest Gump in that he wasn't smart enough to know what he didn't know. And so he didn't worry about certain things. And so that was kind of cool. And it was like irreverent, and it was against, kind of what your parents taught you or what teachers taught you or what you were supposed to do. And yet there was some truth in that. There was truth in the idea that, Alfred E. Newman was like, what, me worry? I don't care. I'll just go with the flow. I'm going to go with the flow. And so anyway, so the deciding is critical, knowing, going back to the law of attraction, the deciding is critical. We got to know what we like and what we don't like. And we get to pick more of what we want and less of what we don't want. And that's that deciding part. But once we decide, the step 2 is letting the universe transpire and do its thing. And then number 3 is like recognizing the signs that the universe gives us and seeing them, when they come up, little hints about, well, maybe I should go do this, or maybe I should do this, like magical moments, like kind of like a magical moment when Isabella reached out to me last week. And the week before that, when Joan of Angels and I connected through Spirituality Going Wild. So this is more of the allowing and going with the flow than in the trying to force and control, everything. So when I, created this show, I said, I want to bring interesting people who can teach us something. I want to bring interesting people who can teach me something. And if I try to force finding those people, sometimes they're, not really the right people. And if sometimes I just allow them to show up, then they turn out to be, very good people. So I'm excited to welcome Shaman Isabella to our show today. And we're just going to dive right into it and see what she has to say and what she's going to share with us. So, Shaman Isabella,
Hi.
good morning. Welcome. How are you?
There you go. I'm good. How are you? I'm trying to move this thing because it's creating this, which is funny because we talk about the third eye and activating your third eye, right? And the sun just came in and bounced off this beautiful crystal thing that I have.
I think it's perfect. It's
creating this, which is fantastic, right? As I'm leading into what, so I could play with that for hours, but what you were saying, because I was writing and writing and writing like crazy, just from what you were monologuing about right now and what you monologued about that created this moment.
Yeah. So we were going to get into that, but we have to do two housekeeping things prior to doing that. So the first one is I want to read a bio and an intro so that people will know who you are. And then the second thing is we have a song that we play for any time a person is the first time guest to the American Gumption morning show. So I have a feeling that we have a lot to talk about and we may not get through all of it. And you might need to come back again in the future for another conversation, but the song will never be played again. So this is kind of a one-time deal. Is that fair? All righty. So let me tell people about who Shaman Isabella is. Isabella Leigh Stoloff began her shaman path in 2006, and since that time has been assisting clients in creating a high vibrational life for themselves and for their families. As an empath, she understands what it means to be sensitive to the energy around her. Using a variety of ancient healing techniques, Shaman Isabella is able to help you let go of the past so that you can learn to trust your intuition and follow your path. I love that. Trusting our intuition and following our path. Boy, if we could just do that, life would be simpler. So chakra balancing, soul retrieval, along with spiritual mentoring are all included in Shaman Isabella's healing work. She assists individuals in their spiritual growth. And I like to say that here at Spirituality Gone Wild, we're all about helping people create a better human experience. And so that's really what the work you're doing is helping people have a better human this time and space, lifetime experience. I love that. So now there's one last quote, and this is your quote, and I just want to read it. So this comes from Shaman Isabella. I humbly understand that spirit works through me to assist you in remembering your light. I find that assisting others in raising their vibration is key to the evolution of the planet. I am grateful for all of my experiences and enjoy teaching others to do the same. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrational words we have. Gratitude is one of the highest vibrational words we have. And Debbie G, the founder of Spirituality Gone Wild, is the gratitude girl. So she is all about gratitude. So there are no coincidences that you are here this morning, Shaman Isabella.
None.
Now, let me play the song. And again, this is just that one time, so enjoy it, please.
Okay. Wow.
Have you ever had a marching band welcome you to a show before?
No. That was quite something, and then to see at the bottom like a ticker tape parade, Shaman Isabella Leigh Stoloff, OrangeCountyHealingCenter.com. It's quite something. Yeah, thank you so much for that. It's definitely woke me up. I'm awake.
Yes, and as Isabella is coming to us from the West Coast, so she had to get up early and be ready to go. So it was just 7 o'clock when we started the show back
Right.
in California, in beautiful Southern California.
I'm an early riser, so what Brandon said that was on before me, yeah, get up earlier. My mother always said the early bird catches the worm.
Yeah, moms have. I think half of what all our moms taught us was perfectly brilliant and wonderful. And then there was another half that was like, probably kind of stuff that, we want to discard and not really use because, So we love our moms.
Love.
But
You don't have to believe everything they tell you.
That's right. Like I said, I think if we get half of it, like, okay, if they got half of it right, they did really good.
They do the best they can with what they know. As mothers, as fathers, we do the best we can with what we know until we know better.
Exactly. Now, you had a very interesting childhood, and we don't have to spend too much time on it, but you grew up in the Hollywood Hills. You were kind of like a silver spoon baby. Your father was a movie director, and your mother was a supermodel before supermodels even was a thing.
Right. But it's funny that it's funny how the perception is, right?
Yeah.
So the perception is you were a silver spoon baby.
Yeah.
And the reality was my mother was working 3 different jobs by the time I came around, because I'm a 1960s baby and she was born in 1920 and my dad was born in 1913. So by the time I came around, there was a lot of turmoil, a lot of trying to keep up with the Joneses, a lot of things that I saw as being fake and phony. And so I actually would leave home and try to find reality in this star upbringing. Yeah, I mean, I hung out with Mackenzie Phillips and I knew Jodie Foster, but that didn't mean that, I had money and I was born with a silver spoon, because that's not true.
Your parents were born probably 20 to 30 years too soon to have the riches of the Hollywood type of lifestyle. So they were just working people. They were.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were working people, but my mother was from England and had gotten through the war, and she was a photographer's model. So in those days, they did not make the kind of money that they make today. Right. My father was a struggling, writer, director, producer, Victor Stoloff. You can look him up. You can look up my mother as well, Jacqueline Craven Stoloff. And he made a film that was nominated Best Documentary Feature Film from Egypt, because he was raised in Egypt. There's a whole other show around those people.
We'll save that for another time then.
Yeah, we'll leave it for another time. But, yes, what you just said about being born ahead of their time, not as far as the money went, because there was lots of money up in the Hollywood Hills when we were there. But that they were ahead of their time in their creativity. My mom was definitely ahead of her time. My father was absolutely ahead of his time. And I too am ahead of my time. I developed a deck of cards, which of course I didn't bring a box to show you guys, but you can find it on my website, called The Good Vibes. And when I created that deck of cards, it took 3 years to make it happen. But when it happened, it was like good vibes was the word of the year. There were good vibes pillows. There were good vibes clothing. There was a good vibe T-shirt that I bought at a Target. It was like I was so ahead of my time, and I made that deck of cards of positive affirmations with my youngest daughter, Victoria. And so there we go.
So you said your mother, she introduced you to a lot of different thinking. So she was she wasn't like a woman of like one particular belief system and then tried to instill you that into you, but she was a woman who had like kind of a global outlook and introduced you to a lot of different thinking at a very young age. Tell us just a little.
Right, like past lives. She talked about our past lives. Horoscopes. We read the horoscopes every day. She had a psychic that she went to that told her one day I would be a writer. So she definitely opened my mind to expansion. And then my oldest sister, not my oldest one, but my one below, Katina, she traveled in the late 70s and 80s. She hitchhiked around the world and became a member of a kibbutz and an ashram. And she was with Osho. So anybody who knows Osho, who was the key to pure love. I mean, people that see him on the outside see him as buying up Oregon and turning into a cult and all that. But, you know, I had firsthand experience through my sister Katina and this expanded consciousness. So let's talk about expanded consciousness, because I really want to touch on, I mean, my story, you can read my story about all the crazies that I went through. I left home. I got involved in drugs. I went to prison. I had kids. I lost custody of my kids. My husband died by the time I was 26. I went, you know, in and out of jail. It was a crazy life experience from the time of 11 years old, probably till 31, and pregnant with my youngest child. I got custody of my other 2 children back. I now have 3 beautiful grandsons from those 2 other children. We're a very strong family, and love each other immensely. And so rather than talking about the past, because it is there and you can read about it, I'd love to talk about what got us together, because it was what you were talking about. And I was writing furiously while you were sharing your monologue from today, which I'd also like to talk about, but this belief systems, right? So that's what you were talking about when I tuned into Joan's show, her and I, our story of how we met, and I just showed up at her house with my daughter and cleared and did the, you know, just her and I, our connection was synchronistic. Look up the word synchronicity. There are no coincidences. Synchronicity is a meaningful coincidence. So your belief system, your belief system, and how is it serving you? Right. So like, ask yourself, how is your belief system serving you? You talked about artists and artistry. And I think, you know, so I wrote artist. What do you think of when you hear that word? Most people think you have to be, now I have a master's degree in art. I have a master's degree from the University of Idaho that I obtained. That's a whole other story. And so I just want to ask the viewers, the listeners today, like, you know, when you hear that word, what do you think of? And I want you to know, viewers, that you are an artist. We are all artists. And how can you become an artist of your own life? What will you sculpt in your own life? I go really quickly. And today, what you were talking about, this is what I want to talk about with you today. So that's what got me over here, right?
Yes.
You just said, we're born sinners. And you talked about the art of allowing. And my teacher, Alberto Violdo, and the 4 Wind Society, which is the shaman training that I took, thank goodness, because it was a really pristine Peruvian tradition that allowed me to awaken to my own intuition and create and cultivate my business, which is the Orange County Healing Center. But my teacher used to talk about the old myth is no longer working. And this is a Joseph Campbell thing as well, talking about myths, that the old myth is no longer working and it's time to create a new myth, right? So Steve, I feel like I'm going to interview you right now. What is the myth that you want to create? What is a new myth? And when I first started this, which I knew nothing, I just knew little bits and pieces about energy and vibration, but I believed in the trees and the universe, thanks to my mom. But that my new myth was Eve took the fruit from the tree. She took the apple from the tree and she bit into it and she said, this is good. Go out and plant more trees. You know, like, how can we take the old belief system and create this new myth and come out with a new higher vibe to allow our souls the freedom of expression, the freedom of artistry, the freedom to create a new world. And that, my friend, is what we need right now more than ever, because our world is believing too much of what other people and other things and other programming, the news stations are telling them. And I don't want to get into what's true and what's not true and wear a mask, don't wear a mask. Wear a mask, do what's being asked, but come home and create your own reality. Because if we continue to buy into whatever it is we think it's other people feeding us, we have to feed ourselves. We have to feed ourselves non-GMO food. We have to drink clean water. We have to feed ourselves program like the Steve Weber show. We have to get back to basics like Forrest Gump, and create this new world. We're at a crucial, I didn't think it was going to happen in my lifetime, but obviously I have the story I have to tell people that they're not alone, and to teach empaths that it's okay to feel. Like I'll start crying, But anyway, let me thank you. Thank you for letting me go on and on, please.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, let's just touch on the empath thing. We understand empathy, being able to relate to another person, but an empath somehow feels that energy, stronger than someone who maybe doesn't call themselves an empath. And I know that in my own life, I've had moments where I just connected with someone and just knew, like I could just feel their energy or their beingness, and it moved me in a way that was, very, very profound. And it was, kind of hard to describe, and almost to the point where you kind of go, oh, this is a little bit uncomfortable. I don't know that I should even go there. So talk a little bit about, what it is to be an empath and how it's affected you and how you had to learn boundaries from the whole being able to sense others.
Definitely an empath. You are definitely an empath. So I want to ask you, do you, when in those days before you created your boundary, because obviously now you have one in order to do these shows, you'd have to. Could you feel it so intensely? I think that empaths that don't have boundaries feel the other person's emotions so intensely and then sometimes think it's their own. Feel it so much so that they then think, that it triggers something in them because they bring it into their soul to try to heal it. I think empaths are healers. I think that they're used to bringing it in, and it creates kind of a codependency, like worry. You were talking about worry. Worry creates cords. So I believe that we cord with people. We can cord with people. We can cord to situations. Your mind, your worry, your fear can cord to something and then bring that into yourself. I think it's the same with an empath until they learn, oh, wait, that's that person's feeling. This is my feeling. And we can talk about mothers. I mean, a lot of as an empath, if we're empaths, if our mothers are very strong, which my mother was, as I am with my children, I'm very strong. I have to pull my energy back and give them their energy back and try not to cord, as I'm like. So how do you, recognize that as an empath? So if there's any empath watching today or listening, if you begin to feel that person's energy in yourself and question yourself and say, is that really me? Or, is that really how I feel? Am I becoming insecure right now? Am I, it's just, you have to learn that's not mine, that's theirs. And pull your energy back and let them have their space and let them have their, without trying to fix it and getting in. And I think that's the strongest message I can give for an empath, is to start to recognize, have the level of awareness where you recognize, oh, that's me trying to help this person at such a level, I'm colluding. So let me help this person by holding my own light strong. This is what I teach. the crystal starlight writes, but how to hold your own light so strong that you can help that person without getting into their energy field and trying to save them.
I remember you said, maybe from a different interview or something you wrote, that we have no business, trying to, I forget how you said it, but we have, like, it's irresponsible to be able to, or to think, it's irresponsible to think that we have the responsibility to try to help others. Something.
I know exactly what you're talking about. I know exactly what you're talking about, Steve. It is spiritually inappropriate. And we don't know that.
Spiritually inappropriate. What a beautiful phrase. Spiritually inappropriate.
There are so many things that are spiritually inappropriate that people don't know about. Like I love my psychics to death, but those psychics that come up to you in the middle of the street, and say, I see this happening to you, you've got this energy around you, and bless their hearts, they just haven't been trained properly is my thing. They haven't been trained properly. They don't know that's inappropriate to go into somebody else's energy field and to tell them what you think about them or what you feel that when I train my students, I have a very high bar for my students. They know, yeah, you're psychic. You're intuitive. You can feel what's going on with that person. But if that person doesn't ask you for a healing and that person doesnand come to you, you do not tell them what you see. You don't. It's none of your business.
I love that. That's, and that really comes back to taking care of ourselves first. The whole idea of self-forgiveness, which I'm sure you had to learn on your journey. I certainly had to learn that. Of course, we're still learning that, but we can't really be available for anyone else until we're available for ourselves. And someone who, people sometimes disguise themselves as an empath, maybe not as an empath, but they get so involved in trying to help others that they don't even, they haven't even taken care of themselves first.
Well, a do-gooder, a do-gooder, that they so want to help, but what happens is they turn into the martyr, right? After all I've done for you, look how you treat me. Those people. And I could become a martyr. I mean, we can all have martyr syndrome, if we give too much, because I'm a giver. I just am a giver, and I attract now givers. I used to attract takers. Most givers attract takers, right? They'll use and abuse, and then you turn into the victim, and woe is me. I was a victim for a long time. I had victim consciousness. There were so many layers to my healing and what I had to go through in order to become and be able to call myself a shaman. I mean, what am I, the blonde Orange County shaman, And I know that I am. It doesn't matter to me. Actually, this year, I wanted to stop calling myself a shaman. And I wanted to say, why can't I just be Isabella, a powerful being in the universe? Okay, I have these gifts, I have these techniques, I can dig deep, get in, remove blockages, help you feel your own divine light and be at one and at peace with your awareness and your consciousness. Okay, but why a title? Who cares? Who cares? And then of course my students started freaking out. Like, no, of course you're gonna call yourself a shaman. It doesn't matter, man. It doesn't matter. It's Ram Dass, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I listened to Ram Dass made a sorry, of course my phone is going. Ram Dass made a CD. It's on Spotify with East Forest, and it is so beautiful. It's Ram Dass's words with East Forest music, and he has one called "I Am Loving Awareness." And it's just his writings with music. You'll love it. I am loving awareness. I am loving awareness. Go into your heart. Go into your, get out of your mind. Get into your heart. And this is what I teach. And there's another man, there's so many great books. I love that you are a Jerry and Esther Hicks, Jerry bless his soul, Abraham series. Leo Buscaglia wrote on love, talked about love in the 60s. There's a book by Robert Collier called Secret of the Ages. Secret of the Ages is a fantastic book on, teaching people how to think outside the box. We are put into a box, I think. We're born, we're put into a religious box. From a religious box, we're put into a school box. From the school box, being taught to take a test, these poor kids. Who cares if you can memorize and take a test? Can you think outside the box? And my new goal is to create something for the universities and the colleges to get to these kids that have had these, years, 12 years of being indoctrinated into this belief system. And how can I help you through meditation and spirituality break out of that box and get into your own box, sculpt your own life? I tell you.
I have a whole list of things that I thought we could talk about. We're not going to get to them, but I'm just going to go ahead and share some of the things on the list, and we'll have to circle back at a different.
You have to, and I will share it. Yeah.
But the whole idea of releasing energy and letting go of the stories. You were just touching on that now, and the story of how your husband's spirit entered you, and that was really the journey of your beginning your shaman teaching, is because that was the story there. So that's a whole story.
That's a whole story. But let's just tap on that for a second, because you tapped on it with forgiveness. Mm-hmm. How do you get the story out of your vibration? You begin by cleansing your mind, body, and spirit, by cleansing your mind and forgiving the situation, forgiving yourself, forgiving the situation, cutting those worry cords, cutting all that energy, and then getting into your divine line and creating a new path. There we go. I answered that one. But we can't talk about the story because it's intense. That's an intense story.
So why are we here? Meaning this time and space. Why did we choose to come? Choosing our families. This topic blew my mind 3 or 4 years ago when I finally got my head around it. And I remember a coach, a friend, I said to her, I just don't know if I had a past life. And I came there and I said, I don't have any memory of that. And she said, well, just consider that maybe you do. And that was all she said. And that opened it up to allowing me to think that was a possibility. And so that's a whole topic that
let me ask you really quickly. Do you ever meet anybody and you think, God, I know this person. I've known this person before.
Yeah, you.
Had that happen? I'm sorry?
I said you.
Oh, great. Me too. So here's the deal. That's how you know there's a past life.
That's right. No, I love it. So that's a whole topic that we want to get into. Very closely related is the idea of forgetting when we get here and then learning to remember. So because
I had to tell whoever keeps calling me, which is my youngest daughter, which is so funny. Can you repeat that? Because I'm like, you got to stop. I'm live.
So we come into this time and space where this spirit, where this, we're this entity, a spirit. We come into this time and space. We're born into it, and we forget, we forget the past, and then we spend this lifetime kind of like learning to remember.
Trying to remember. You choose our parents, and then you have to get into the whole level of forgiveness of yourself for choosing those parents that were so challenging, or for choosing those situations that were so challenging. You're like, okay, I forgive myself as a soul for coming and doing that. But why, honey? Why? To raise the vibration on the planet. Look at how you're raising the vibe on the planet. I saw that the minute I saw you, I was like, oh my God, this guy's energy is off the hook. I got to be on his show. And I damn sure didn't think it was going to happen in a week. But this is what we need right now because we are in a time of holy cow, what's going to happen if we don't do something with global warming, with our trash, with our beer? Please do not shop this Christmas. Gosh, we have enough stuff.
Yeah, we don't need more stuff.
Look at somebody else's stuff. This is why my mother used to always wrap an old book and give us like a used item rather than going out and buying new things. That was my.
Hey, I want to, so one of our other hosts here, co-creators on Spirituality Gone Wild is Scott Stanfield. His show comes up at 9 o'clock your time, and he just says, great interview. He's the modern longevitarian, and his is all about like living a long life, and he has 8 principles. So Scott, thank you for checking in. And then Bettina just says good morning from Seattle, but she also says, I bought into the working hard lie and worked very hard most of my life. I became a doer and traded my time for dollars. And, you know, she tells more, but it's like that is so old school, or it's like we were taught that. And yet, where has that brought us? I mean, you know, and in fairness to the people that taught us that, they were born into a different time and place.
And the depression, right?
And they had to, it was a matter of survival. It was a different time. But just because we're taught something doesn't necessarily mean it's true. And that was what the conversation last week was all about, was that like, you have to look at what you, let me take this off here. You have to look at what you believe and then decide whether you really believe that or not.
Right. And this whole rewiring your brain, right? Right now, you can rewire your brain. So yes, you made that money and you bought into the system, but don't beat it up now. Go, okay, I did that. I traded my time for dollars, but I don't have to spend another minute doing that. I can now go into the vibration of peace and joy and liberty and abundance. And I know that there are people out there watching and listening today that have lost their jobs, that are struggling, that might lose their home. I can only say to you, do a daily affirmation for yourself. Write down that things are about to change. I've been homeless. I've been in prison. I've been addicted. I've been completely shattered. I was pregnant with my youngest child in a recovery home and kicked out with nothing. So you can. Look at J.K. Rowling, who was on welfare and had nothing. There are stories out there of inspiration. And if I can give anything to anyone today that is struggling, please just shift your consciousness. Do a 30-day mental detox and raise your vibration. I have free healings. There's free stuff, all the free meditations. There's 11 years I've been doing this. 11 years of information on my website. It's like a library. So get in that orangecountyhealingcenter.com and just devour it.
Yeah, lots of great information. There is Isabella's information, orangecountyhealingcenter.com. And it's a great resource of information. And it's where I learned mostly about you. But then, you know, there's also, you know, interviews that you've done. So you're not a shy person. You're not hiding what you think and believe. And I think one of the things that this show allows me, if I could be just a little self-indulgent and just say, what am I getting out of this? It's like, I'm getting to, you know, be exposed to ideas that I needed to learn, want to learn. And so people like Joan of Angels, yourself, are coming on and teaching me and helping me to raise my vibration level.
Honey, your vibration is already high. You've just got to believe it.
So here, you said something that I need to kind of circle back to, and you asked the question about how do I, you know, you said, okay, Steve, you're an empath. So I sat on the bench as Forrest Gump for 15 years and I talked to people and I loved it. I just loved talking to people, but it was like, hi, how are you? What are you doing? Like, take a picture with Forrest Gump, you know, like a couple jokes and life's like a box of chocolate. And then the next person came along. So it wasn't an opportunity to go deep on this, but there was a real opportunity to connect and touch people's hearts. So you asked about, you know, how did I set a boundary? what had happened when I was 11 years old, I had my feelings hurt by a girl, and I set a boundary that I was not going to trust and allow people to get close. Now, I was a social creature already, and so I created this boundary, and I had a very good social ability to bring them up, but I only allowed them up to the boundary. So when I sat on the bench, I had a very, very clear boundary that nobody could penetrate from, and nobody was able to penetrate. And that barrier finally broke open in late 2013 when I had done some personal development and spiritual work, and I finally had that moment when I went, oh my gosh, and I literally said, oh my gosh, it's been me. It wasn't them. And that changed everything. And so anyway, you asked about the boundary thing. I had already had a built-in boundaries. So this is weird because here I am, this person who wants to be close to people, and yet I had this self-imposed boundary that I had established when I was like 11 years old. So it wasn't like a conscious decision to do it. It just sort of, just kind of happened. It was conscious, but it was like, you didn't know what you didn't know back then. And so here I am inviting people in, and so it was very confusing to people because I invited them in, but then they could never get any further.
Right. So that's an unhealthy boundary. So we can talk about healthy boundaries versus unhealthy boundaries in the next show.
All right. We got 2 minutes left.
Okay. So there's unhealthy boundaries. That's an unhealthy boundary, Steve, right? Where the boundary where you're like, that's a wall. I got a wall up. I got a wall in my heart. You're not getting in, right?
Right.
That's an unhealthy boundary. The healthy boundary is I allow you to be whatever it is you need to be. And I don't take it personally, and I don't take it on, and I don't take it in because it has nothing to do with me. I am not responsible for how you feel. I'm not responsible. You cannot make me feel a certain way. I can choose whether or not I want to feel that way. You're attacking me, you're whatever. I don't have to go into that energy with you. Wow. You could take a look at yourself and how you're treating me. It's a level though, right? One level. So a healthy boundary is absolutely taking care of yourself first. Absolutely knowing where your energy starts and another person's begins, where another person's energy starts and yours begins. And you don't go into their energy field to try to heal them, save them, create whatever. You hold your own divine line strong. And, there is a beautiful woman named Alea Dow who talks about the divine line and holding your divine line and attaching it to the front of your spine. And it's very woo-woo. And there are some things I do that are super woo-woo, but I love my woo. I love my woo. I love it more than the logical, scientific, but the scientists say that. No. Scientists are starting to believe in the woo a little more. If you're noticing in the heart, there's a Heart Math Institute, how your heart is smarter than your brain. And nobody believes that your heart knows more than your brain. But if your heart shuts off, you're dead. And if your brain shuts off, your heart can still pump. So I have a feeling the heart might be a little more intelligent.
Right. And what was the first organ that forms? The heart. There you go. So I guess if it's the first one, it might be slightly more important than the brain. All righty.
Well, love, what I'd like to leave everyone with today is love everyone. Love everyone's differences. Love everyone's whatever they're going through right now. The shutdown's not real, or mask isn't real. This isn't real. It's such a judgment. That I would love everybody to just be in love with yourself, be in love with humanity, be in love with this judgment that's happening because we are entering the age of Aquarius. It is upon us, and it may take 100 years for things to really change. Cancel. I hope they change a lot faster, but I'd like it to change in my lifetime.
All righty. Well, we better end it there because otherwise we'll just go on. If you can, stick around. I'm going to play the closing song, and then we'll schedule a time to get you back if that works. If you have to leave,
I've got the next appointment, but can you text me? And
Yeah, we'll make it work, and we'll get you back in here. And
a lot of fun.
There were two more things that I didn't even mention that we had to talk about. And
I have so much more to teach, so just
Good.
get me on anytime. I'll be your
Isabella. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. All right, we'll see you again. Wow, that was fantastic. I knew this was going to be a fun interview, and I'm so grateful that that Shaman Isabella from the Orange County Healing Center joined us this morning and shared that. And I knew we weren't going to get through all of the things we had. So we will schedule a time. We'll get her back here very soon, and we'll continue it. And my sense is that it might take another two shows or 3 shows before we kind of go through all of the things that we can energetically share with each other. Alrighty, so that's it. Tomorrow we are going to talk about I'm going to dedicate the show to the We Empower You Summit that's going on. I'll have free tickets available for that. Thursday, Aaron Linsdau, Arctic explorer and adversity expert. He will be joining us. Aaron soloed to the South Pole along the Antarctica continent. And then on Friday, Natalie Coleman from Darkness into the Light will continue that series that we've been discussing, primarily focused on her recovery, but on the idea that we all have a dark spot and we all want to go and transition into the light. Alrighty, so that's it, everybody. Have a great day. I sure do appreciate your joining me today. I will see you tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time. Have a great rest of your day.